Hey guys, this is Pat with MattKiteboarding.com, joined today by Phil from Cabrinha. He runs the R&D there. Thanks for joining us today, Phil.
Yeah, how's it going?
Going
Thanks for
well.
having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining today. So I guess we'll just kind of get started. What's your role at Cabrinha? I know you're head of R&D there.
No, actually, we have a product manager who technically is the head of R&D. That's Lars. Yeah. I'm the product test manager, so I kind of oversee all the product testing as stuff comes out, whether it's prototyping or whatever. I do work with all the design guys and the kind of the R&D team to come up with ideas and help develop stuff and whatever. And then once we have working prototypes and whatnot, whether they're 3D printed stuff these days, or board samples or kite prototypes or whatever, then we get those onto the water, do fine tuning, especially when it comes to kites and kite bridling. So I basically get to almost try everything. The product range is, as with everybody else, it's gotten so big now that it's too much for one person to do. So luckily we have a good crew of guys and girls who test stuff and help, and that we can farm stuff out to, whether it's on the wing side or foiling specific or prone surfing or even the kiting too. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So
no, that's super neat. That's kind of a really cool, unique job in the industry, and a really fun job, really, when it comes down to it. Your job's testing.
It's got its perks for sure. Yeah, there's many days in the water, but there is a trade-off to that. There are many days where if you were doing this for fun, you probably wouldn't go, like when it's drizzling rain and really gusty or offshore conditions or whatever. So you don't always get to pick the best days when stuff needs to happen and we need feedback and we need a decision one way or the other. You just got to go get it done. So. But again, luckily we have a great crew and a great team that we work with. So everybody's pretty fired up to get stuff moving and kind of make the best product we can.
No, that's awesome. And so how did you end up getting started in the kite industry?
The short version is I was working downstairs at the shop here for a few years. And then Pete convinced me to come upstairs and kind of help them out with some customer service stuff they were having at the time. And just issues, just answering customer questions and dealing with other things like that. And did that for a little while, and over the years gotten more involved with helping the guys out with whether it was Pat would give kites to try, or the other guys would flow boards to try and whatever, and kind of one thing led to another, and kind of just started being more and more involved with the testing. And that kind of just turned into pretty much a full-time job as the range grew. So I've been doing that for what feels like probably almost 10 years now.
Okay, very cool.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So you've been through the whole development of Cabrinha then, as far as the last 10 years, kind of going through those changes, the different ownership, all that stuff. It's kind of, I'm sure it's been
Yeah. So we've there's definitely a couple guys that have been here longer than me, but yeah, we've seen most of it and been here through most of it, and it's all been good learning experience, and just really stoked to see where it is now with John and those guys coming in and kind of helping out. And those guys are all kiters, so that really makes a huge difference. And they wing as well and surf, so they really understand what the mission is here and what we're trying to do. And they're fully behind it, and it's been a really positive experience for sure.
No, that's great. And so I know you kind of run a bunch of the tech tip videos for Cabrinha. You kind of have that program. How do you come up with the idea for those? Is this kind of stuff you notice while you're actually doing the product testing, and just kind of come up with something that the end consumer might think of a question throughout that process, and then kind of just go run with that?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a combination of things. I would say the bulk of it is probably getting feedback from retail, from customers on the beach, from our own team, from our internal sales staff. Just, obviously maybe new products are coming out, things that may be a little bit different than from what consumers are used to seeing, then maybe it needs a little bit of extra explanation, or, different way to service a new product, whether it's a new sprint system or what have you. But yeah, we just try and take feedback from all areas and see what do we feel like the biggest need is. And just try and explain that further as people might need, because we're sitting here and I'm knee deep in it every day. And so we kind of take it for granted that, to tear down a bar completely and put it all back together, or, transfer guts to a different bar may take 10 minutes or 15 minutes or, even half an hour in worst case scenario. But, a consumer maybe seeing this bar for the first time might need to service something, and you could end up spending a couple hours on it. And we just, trying to make that whole process easier for people. and just make them realize that when we do design this stuff, we do try and design it with serviceability in mind, and make things easier to work on. And because we all know that there's nothing worse going, you're at the beach and then you realize you're about to launch and something's wrong, whether it's a sprint system issue or there's kite line issues or whatever. So try and make it as seamless as can be while still making it as high performance and safe as it can be as well.
Okay, got it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then I guess kind of rolling into kind of the end consumer kind of headspace. I know a lot of brands, like year to year, you'll ask a designer or somebody what was changing the kite, and they said, "Oh, we changed the bridle this year. Oh, we lightened up the fabric slightly." Kind of, I guess I just discovered this year how big of a change of bridles can actually make two kites. This kind of I'd never realized how big of a, you can have a great airframe shaped kite, and if the bridle's not right on it, it's not going to fly right. But kind of what does that kind of mean to the end user when a designer says, "Oh, we tweaked the bridle this year"? What does that actually kind of mean or entail to the end user?
So there's a bunch of things that can go right and wrong there, and you're absolutely right, is that you can have a pretty decent kite in the profile and the canopy and shape and everything about that. And yeah, what it really comes down to is I would say 98% of the time what separates a good kite and a great kite is the bridling. That can really make or break the kite, and we do spend countless hours going over that stuff and fine-tuning stuff. And maybe a lot of people don't realize it. I get a lot of questions here on the beach because it's the same crew that we see at the beach, and so those guys are used to seeing me out there tying knots and stuff. And you'll go out for 2 laps, come in, take one piece of bridle off, tie an overhand knot in it, and go back out for a couple more minutes and come back and try it again without it. And what it really comes down to is you'd be amazed the difference that can make. And to most people, it might not be a night and day difference, but it'll be the difference between, yeah, this feels all right, or you coming back with the biggest smile on your face going, that was freaking awesome, And that's what we're really striving for, is to make the kite the best it can be for what it's designed or intended to do, We're lucky to have a guy like Pat Goodman, who's been doing this forever and is just the OG as far as kite design is concerned, and makes some really good kites. So we're stoked to have him back on board, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with him before and now. Yeah, usually by the time he sends stuff to us to try, it's already pretty close. But then I do spend a lot of time with him online, and when the opportunity arises in person, that we go through certain things and try things, and it's a lot of back and forth. And there is a handful of other guys that we rely on as well to provide that feedback.
Yeah.
And just like I said, make it the best it can be. So sometimes the difference of 1 centimeter in a certain line of the bridle can literally make the difference of how the kite feels when you turn it, if it gets more pivoty or if it doesn't depower enough when you throw the bar out and that kind of thing. And so it's really about trying to find the right balance to get the kite to be the way it is. And Pat's really particular about things, and his OCD kicks in, and it's got to be just right. And it's definitely a blessing to have somebody that's so detail oriented like that, because he really helps us work through all those things. And yeah, so it's when you think about just tying a knot in the bridle line, I think at the end of the day, what that means to the consumer is we're trying to get to the point where when you guys go ride the kite, or when your customer goes and rides the kite, they have the best experience they possibly can on it. It's whether it's better upwind as a result, or the depower is better, or the jumping is better, or it's more pivoty in the turn when you're on the wave. So when you bottom turn, you're not getting yanked off your board, all those little things. So it just depends what kite we're working on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you kind of answered my question. I guess I was going to ask, so we're talking this fractions of change, a centimeter here or there on the bridle, or kind of, by the time it gets to you, it's not sections changing the bridle. It's literally just centimeters are making the difference there as far as that fine tuning of that feel.
Yeah, and it's not just the length of the bridles, it's where the bridles are attached to on the kite too as well. So moving that toe point of where that bridle's hanging off the kite by a centimeter or two can sometimes make or break the kite as well. And so there is a lot of trial and error there. Like I said, again, Pat's really good, so there's already a really good general idea of where stuff needs to be.
Yep.
But a lot of times when we're developing new kites too, you're starting kind of from ground zero, and sure, there's an idea of what you want it to achieve, and so you go into it with certain parameters, but there's always that little bit of fine tuning that needs to happen, and it's always those last details that take the longest to achieve.
No, that's awesome. And so kind of going into that kind of new product development, Cabrinha this year, you guys have come out kind of almost revamping the line fully, I guess I'd say, as far as,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as new kites go, whole new surfboard line. It
Hmm.
seems like you guys have really kind of breathed the whole new life in the program. I mean, Nitro's a brand new kite, first model of it, the Moto X. You could call it an evolution of the Moto, but really it's a brand new kite as well. And then you're saying earlier to me that kind of the Drifter as well is almost a whole redesigned kite as well.
Yeah, it's been a busy year for sure this past season with for everybody on the team, not just not just myself or whatever, but there's been a lot of work went into the kites, into the surfboard program, what have you, even wings and foils. Specifically with the kites, which is what I kind of have my hands in most of the time, is like you just mentioned, the Moto versus the Moto X. This is like, do you even call it the Moto anymore? Because I mean, as I'm sure you've probably tried by now, it's a very different animal from the original Moto. It's faster, it's lighter, it loops better, everything, it jumps better, everything about it. It's really I would consider it a high performance 3-strut free ride kite now, that can
For sure,
actually
yeah.
do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think it kind of took what that original Moto was going for and actually brought it to the finish line with it, I guess. I'm sure there's tons of changes that can be made to it in the future. I'm sure you guys are going to continue to tweak it, but
we're already working on that. Yeah. But yeah, it's such a good kite that you can actually, I was a little bit surprised when we were developing this kite first because it was lighter and faster than anything else in our range kind of at the time.
Yeah.
That it took a little bit of getting used to, and I was hesitant to like, who's this kite really for?
Yeah.
But we've seen a couple people actually in their very kind of, fresh out of lessons, this is their first kite. Yeah. And, you can move that kite to the B setting on the wingtips, stiffen up the bar pressure just a little bit so they get a little bit more feedback from it. They did fine. And then yet we have guys, we watch our guys in Cape Town doing double loops on, the 6 and 7 meters of this thing in, 50 knots. So it actually can cover this huge range that originally I wasn't even sure was possible. But it's amazing that the kind of kite or the kind of conditions that you can take this kite out in, it really does do a little bit of everything, and it does it really well. So we're really stoked on that one for sure.
Yeah, no, everyone in the shop here has hopped on and has loved the thing. One of our team riders, Mark, he was shocked at how well the thing drifted in the waves. Like I just talked to him about it 2 nights ago. He got out in the waves with it and was actually, he said down the line on the thing was fine. He was actually really, really happy with it. It was because he was concerned about if he shouldn't have gotten a 7-meter drifter. Then at that point, he should have got another 7 Moto X.
Nice. It's a good problem to have.
It is, yeah. And so kind of going across into the Nitro, you guys have that new Apex material with it, made the kite frame a lot stiffer. Do you see that kind of developing more into other products in the line, or do you see that kind of just sticking with the Nitro for the time being and seeing how that material kind of develops over the next couple of years?
Oh, well, that's pretty top secret. I'm not sure if allowed to talk about that.
No worries.
I'm just kidding. No, not at all. You know what? The Nitro has been a huge surprise, and I think Pat said it best, that it's one of those kites when you get on, especially experienced kiters, that you kind of think back like, oh yeah, this is why I got into kiting, because that's what attracted at least most of us, not everybody, but is this jumping high ridiculousness. I come from a snowboarding and a wakeboarding background, but to be able to like think about jumping over your boat now instead, and just going well and beyond that. Yeah, the Nitro is really kind of the high performance boosting kite that was designed with king of the air style riding in mind, and it's been pretty eye opening to see like how high you can go and how far you can go downwind drifting with that thing in the air. That Apex material. That Apex series, I should say, the material that we're using in the LE and the struts is really it's really kind of opened up the performance of the kite and allow us to get kind of the last 10-15% out of it to just let you go to the moon essentially on that thing. And there's always the intention of where else can we incorporate this? Does it make sense to use it in other models or other products or whatever? So that's kind of a nonstop development thing. Always trying new things, new ideas. Definitely plenty of experimentation going on in development.
Yeah, no, I've been loving it. I've been riding the Nitro State in my car after I did all my testing with it. I've kept it. I'm keeping it hidden away. And I think that one's sticking
Yeah.
with me for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And the one thing I was just riding one the other day, just before that last swell arrived, as we're developing, new stuff. And it just reminded me what a fun kite that is and how much I'm not really the big twin tip guy anymore. I haven't even done freestyle in forever, but it's so fun to jump on that kite and just go boost around and try some loops. And it's just good fun. I just was reminded how of an incredible high wind range this thing has, that it's really designed to be ridden in those overpowered conditions,
Yeah, for sure.
in a day where a 9 Moto might be fine, or 9 Moto X might be fine for, the day here where it says it's blowing, 20 to 22 or whatever. I really don't want to take out the 9 Nitro until it's at least 25.
Yeah.
And just kind of ride it at the upper end, and when it starts getting 25, almost 30, that's when that kite really comes alive and really starts feeling fun. So yeah, I would say anybody that's looking at that kite, it's designed to be ridden, almost one size bigger. But because it can handle that sort of range, and because it was designed for that, again, king of the air style riding, you're going to go out and just ride that kite lit. And that's where it's the most fun, for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree with you there. I definitely would size up with that kite, ride it overpowered. It's where it comes alive. It's that extra. It's like sports suspension on a car. You can ride it on the street, but when you're on the track,
Right.
it really...
Right. And that's where you really appreciate the difference. Like you said, it really does come alive there. And yeah, you definitely feel the performance difference. It's very comfortable being overpowered.
Yeah. And so as far as the drifter, I know that's kind of your personal choice, your baby. What's new with the drifter this year? I know you said that they've it feels like a brand new kite. What happened there? What did they change?
Yeah, same. So that one, Pat kind of started almost from the ground up on that one. The profile's different, the arc shape's a little different, the bridling's totally different. The leading edge and strut materials been changed over as well to really kind of lighten up the kite itself. And so giving the kite, between the bridling and the redesign of the kite itself and the materials, the kite's now lighter and faster than it's been before. It's more responsive on the bar. And all those things have kind of helped to make it drift down the line a little bit better, react to that, pivot turn when you're going into a turn that just redirects the kite quicker now. The D-power is just as good. I think, if anything, the jumping has been improved a little bit, which we really appreciate for strapless airs, of course. It got better for that, but you didn't lose any of the surfing ability of the kite. And that's one of the things that we really liked about that. Guys are, we watched Lorenzo doing double kite loop strapless board off. I think it's a mouthful, but yeah, stuff that I didn't even think was possible, on a surfboard. It's just crazy. So it jumps plenty fine, and guys like Yahi, who are pretty much predominantly want to just go get barreled now. It does just fine for him as well, still in proper surf. So, and for us average Joes that want to go out and play when there's fun surf around, it gets the job done like no other. It's really a fun kite to fly. So yeah, I would say the predominant thing is it's significantly lighter, faster through the window, faster turning. It definitely feels like a drifter on steroids, like a sports car version of the existing drifter, which was already a great kite.
That's awesome. I haven't been able to get my hands on one yet. I know Aaron has one in his car. I'm going to be stealing it from him at some point. But
yeah,
you should. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and Aaron's been raving about it. You guys finally got him to try another kite brand for the first time in a couple of years, so it's good to see that.
Yeah, nice. I'm glad to hear
horizon.
That. Right on.
And then the new bar this year, that's pretty big change from the old overdrive bar. Really cool looking, got the auto unswivel, new release system, kind of really good revamp there in the lineup, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I haven't been able to use one yet, but it sounds like they're coming in pretty quickly here, and can't wait to get my hands on one of those for testing. Were you in the R&D with that at all, or the actual testing with that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big project for sure. Control systems are by nature just very technical, and what they need to achieve. You're expecting to hold your body weight getting ripped off the water in ridiculous winds, but still, the safety's got to be able to eject at a moment's notice, and the bar's got to feel right in your hands, and it's got to have this adjustability. And so there's a bunch of things that need to happen to make it. And this is what's connecting you to the power source, right? So it's got to feel right and intuitive. We did do a bunch of testing with that. It's come out really good. Everybody's really stoked on it. And it was a huge redesign. It's really cool to have this auto unswivel feature, which is just a really nice bonus that The trade-off is you need to make sure your center lines are now set up correctly right from the get-go, as with any auto unspin system. But it's really by the second time I think we ever used the bar, we kind of figured out, oh, okay, just get used to doing this, because some of us sometimes would get lazy and not even run out your front lines.
I would do it all the time.
And then you just unspin the thing at the bottom after you launch. And so this is like, you just got to make sure it's done right, but it's literally an extra maybe 10 seconds out of your routine. But it's a really nice feature to have. Everything keeps nice and straight. The other bonus that I found is the free spinning feature of the safety line. So that now the 1X flagging line that you're leashed off to doesn't get twisted. So for people that only like kite loop in one direction, or like, strapless guys that are only doing their transitions in one direction, over time, that front line, that one single flagging line can get spun up pretty bad. So now it doesn't happen anymore. So it solved a bunch of issues, the QR, as you know, is the single push click now. It's a seatbelt style, works really good. The other cool thing is the line lengths are all adjustable. So they come stock at 22 meters. And basically what you're getting is an 18 meter line set with a 4 meter extension put on. And that's the way the bar ships. But there's also 2 meter extensions in the box. So it gives people the option to run any combination of 18, 20, 22, or even 24 for people that want to go really long. And so it really helps you dial in, like if you want to have a shorter line setup for either doing, bigger yank loops, or you just want a faster wave kite or things like that. Or people maybe that are learning or riding in higher winds and just want something that's a little bit closer to them. And, I have a guy here, one of our testers prefers riding 24 meter line. So he puts the extension, the end extensions on, and he just wants to go boost to the moon the whole time. So it just gives people a ton of options. And the new bar is really sick. I'm stoked for you guys to get on it and try it out. It's basically, it's in the mail. They're making them now, so you guys should be seeing them any day now.
Everybody that was down in Cancun said it looked great. So super excited to get your hands on that. And then the quick change loops also. So you have the different options as far as loop sizing, sliders, stuff like that. It's good to see.
There's those 3 different stock sizes. I think it's going to ship with the small loop, which is what most people will probably need and want anyways. There is a medium loop that's more free ride and then part-time unhook. And then there's a freestyle dedicated loop with no security pin and a suicide style leash connection. So there's 3 different loop sizes, like you mentioned, and then there'll be a dedicated slider option as well, which is the metal bit right in the bottom, a really shortened loop for people that want to ride on either a rope or a webbing style slider. And we've ridden them all, and they all work really, really well. We're really stoked on them. So.
No, good. It's really excited to get on that. And so I guess we'll move away from the R&D side of things, the testing side of things, kite things. And what is your go-to setup, Phil? If you can grab anything out of the Cabrinha lineup, go hit the water right now, size, kite, board, what are you grabbing out of your back of your car for the conditions you want?
It really depends on the conditions, and being the nature of my job is to go and ride what needs to get tested. I don't get to pick a lot. It's go ride what needs to get ridden. Regardless of what the conditions are. So there's been plenty of days where it's been head high surf and we're out there riding twin tips and boosting around and feel like, what am I doing out here? But no, just, with the older knees and that kind of thing, and the joints not liking it's freestyle as much these days. The go-to is definitely riding drifters and a strapless board. Nice. The 9 meters probably the favorite. 7 is great because it generally means it's windier and everybody loves being on smaller kites when they can. But something about the 9 is just the right combination. It's plenty fast now, but it still jumps really good. So for strapless airs, I tend to prefer the timing of that with the 9 meter. And the Method is a really good surfboard that I'm really stoked on, that works really good for strapless and kind of smaller wave conditions.
Nice.
And then I'll jump on a flare or a phantom if the surf is a little bit more up. The surf stuff is definitely the favorite when the conditions allow and when time allows, of course.
I think everybody's favorite is the surf stuff when the conditions line up for it. I don't think there's anybody in this sport that if they get the opportunity for the surf, I think they're all going to take it. I'm definitely more free ridey, boosty myself, but if the conditions line up for a good wave day, I'm all in for it no matter what.
Hey, and don't get me wrong, when there's no surf or when it's, ankle high, I have no problem taking a nitro and a twin tip out and just go boost around and try that stuff, because it's all good fun. I'll do it as long as my body will let me, let's put it that way.
I know your pain there. And so living in Maui, I know you're kind of in a destination spot there, but what is you get a free plane ticket tomorrow, bags are packed, where would you go? Anywhere in the world?
Oof. That's a tough one, man. There's a lot of places I haven't been to yet that I'm very curious about. So,
Yeah.
out of the places we have been so far, I would say Tahiti or just French Polynesia in general has been kind of an all-time. Just has a little bit of everything. Obviously, the surf is kind of world class, and the reef is just alive there, and it reminds me of what old Hawaii probably was like before I got here. And it's a beautiful spot with good wind and solid surf and everything. So, but short of that, if of places I haven't been to, I mean, there's probably a list 2 pages long at least, too many to count. There's so many good spots out there that I haven't been to that we hear about from people all the time. Oh, you got to come here, you got to come there. And you know what, if there was all the time in the world, I would go to every single one of those places.
It's endless. It's crazy. There's always, especially with kiting, winging now, there's so many spots that are opening up that I wouldn't have thought of going to before. But
right,
it's like I'm always hearing from a customer or something, someplace, I'm like, oh, I never even thought about you kite there. It's just kind of neat to hear.
Yeah, I fully agree. There's so many different options out there. It's hard to choose just one or two. But yeah, out of all the places I've been so far, it's been French Polynesia has definitely been a favorite.
Awesome. No, it's good to hear. I guess one last question for you is, it's kind of a big loaded question. Where do you see kind of the big improvements in kite design in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you think we're going to see any actual big change as far as kite design goes wise, or do you think it's going to be more so on the material end like we've been seeing in the last 1 to 2 years? I know it's hard to see that far out, but just
it is, and I hesitate to say that it's not kite design because we've been surprised before, and so there's definitely that possibility. But I will say that with materials, it definitely seems like there's a big push for that right now, and the focus is definitely on getting stuff that's either lighter, stiffer, in some cases softer. It's not stiff is maybe great for wings, but not always great for kites, or at least not in all the areas. I think materials is probably the big push right now. And those things take a little while to develop and test and homologate. So it's not something that necessarily happens overnight. And, we've tried a lot of stuff that look good on paper or in the lab data that we've run. But when you put it into an actual product, it didn't quite translate like we thought it would. And then there was other things that we were surprised by, that this is way better than we thought it was. So it can go both ways. But yeah, right now I'd say materials is definitely the big push. We're always chasing lighter, stronger, faster, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And kind of going off of that, I guess, just curious on your take on it. I know everyone's kind of going after kind of that stiffer, lighter material. And doesn't it come to a point where the kites need to flex to a certain stance of taxi turn? So,
absolutely,
it's a good thing, but I guess it is kind of that rebound you're looking for it to snap back to its original shape quicker. So, I guess is it?
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure you guys went through that with the Apex material, with the stiffness. I mean, just figuring out what the right level is. Yeah,
and there's so many different things that go into it. Whether it's it's just the properties of the material itself, the stitch holding capability, and then how does it interact with the canopy material, which is a totally different material. So yeah, there's many things that go into those when considering, and then how to assemble it. Does it need a different assembly method because it's a different material? Does the kite need to be redesigned? I will certainly say that you can't just slap new material on an existing design and expect it to work the same or better. The design really needs to complement what the material is made from, and so it is kind of a process starting from the ground up, and a lot of time and effort gets spent on that. So we do spend a lot of time trying different things as well, and just trying to find what the optimum combination or what the right fit is for that, or if it even fits into the range at all.
No, awesome. Well, we're at 30 minutes here. We can wrap it up for today. Thanks so much for joining us, Phil. Do you have anything else you want to add, or anything?
Man, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully I see you guys out here soon.
Hopefully soon, yeah. And if you guys want to check out any of Cabrinha tech tips or anything like that, check out Cabrinha's YouTube page. You'll see Phil there. If you don't get enough from here, you can see him there.
Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it, Pat.
No problem. Thanks, Phil. Catch you later.
Yeah. All right. See ya.